it's kind of early. It's what, 4 o'clock. People are probably just starting to get off of work. Luckily for me, today's my day off. We'll see if anyone pops in the chat, and we'll give it a minute. So we remain silent off topic because, and I don't see nobody in the chat. I didn't let anybody know I was doing this. So it is what it is. Okay, we got a light. We got two people in the chat. Let's see who it is. PNG, did you see that little fuck up I did earlier? I was doing a test run on my computer on the YouTube studio and seeing about sharing, being able to do a screen share, and I'm messing with that OBS, and I guess I hit it and didn't realize it went public. And then I seen you pop in. I was like, oh shit, I'm public. So how you doing, PNG? Media News. Okay, what am I looking for? Yeah, that's fucking comedy, bro. If I didn't see you in the chat room, I would have had no idea. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how to do screen sharing, so a lot of the stuff that I have on my computer and shit, I can share. I can share with people. But you mean I'm not a techie person, so I'm learning as I'm going. And it just so happens my son, who is my fucking Geek Squad guy, went on a 3-day camping trip, and he's not gonna be back till fucking Thursday, I believe. But yo, Ricky Ricardo. Okay, guys. So with that said, how many of you guys have seen the recent video of junior deputy no jumper street and Lieutenant Vlad PD on no jumper? I'm trying to pull it up right here on my phone real quick. Let's see. I know it's one of the recent videos I seen earlier. Yeah, text us and bring that camping up to Tahoe. Tahoe, buddy? That's right. Oh, shit. I would love to be in fucking Tahoe.
No Jumper, coolest podcast in the world. And today,
Yeah, no, I'm in Southern California. If anyone's familiar with the Santa Ana Mountains, my son went camping over there by the Trabuco Canyon Creek or something like that. I think the campground is Trabuco Canyon Park or something like a regional park, something like that. I mean, I mean, it's not too far away from home. I believe him and his friends have cell reception, so we'll see. Did anyone see the Vlad TV and No Jumper interview regarding the whole Big U and Brick Baby and all that fucking shenanigans? Yeah. Okay, guys. Isn't this what I warned you? Did you guys see the comments? Have anyone see the comments section? How they're being ridiculed with comments of them being cops and how they're coming at them with let me see here. One of the first top comments. Finally, two of the top YouTube FBI agents meet to discuss their latest case. That is like one of the top comments in there. No jumper, coolest police station in the world. Yeah, bro. These dudes have. Let me see here how many comments they got. They got almost 4,000 comments, and we're gonna say about maybe 90%, and that's just being generous. 90% of their comments are referring to them as law enforcement snitches, right? That they're using their content to entrap people knowingly, right? Now, for those of you longtime subscribers to the Outlaw, now I believe I've been on YouTube. I mean, off and on. I do take sometimes off months at a time because I'm not a social media addict. But since day one, 5 years ago, I warned everybody about these guys, right? I know you guys thought I was just talking about Powder, Mundo, Boxer, and a few guys. But if you really pay attention to my content, I told you the entire prison snitch influencer slash gang genre was all created by law enforcement, and these shows are run by either law enforcement or informants, right? or journalists who are extremely buddy-buddy with law enforcement. My voice is low. Okay, let me see if I can put it closer. Is that a little better? But I warned you guys, didn't I? I told you a long time ago. You guys can go and see when I did the one on New Year's when I warned you guys about how I put a green light on the Snitch Influencers. I told you, pay attention. All these Snitch Influencers all just happen to appear on No Jumper or on Vlad TV. I mean, if you pay attention, or Vlad PD, this guy interviews high-level informants, right? So does so does No Jumper Street, right? Junior Deputy No Jumper Street. Who remembers the show Jump Street, the old show where it was a bunch of young guys in their 20s that pretended to be teenagers, and they would infiltrate certain activities at high school. Look at Keep ED, yep. Look at Keep ED, yeah, correct, you're right. But no one remembers the show Jump Street. There has to be someone just as old as me. PNG, Media News. I'm looking at you, buddy. No one's ever seen Jump Street. Did anyone see the remake? They made a movie, and it's kind of like fictionalized and comedy of Jump Street. But yes, we do. Yeah, Jump Street was a program where it was these guys who would go into high school or pretend to be like young hip kids and would infiltrate the community and basically bust people. But in reality, it didn't really work like that. And those cases don't really work like that. But yeah, I mean, I told you guys. That's why I'm calling No Jumper Operation No Jumper Street after that show. Yep, he does joke about it. He's always they're always clowning because they know the show's a joke. You could tell the show's a joke because come on, these shows have interviewed Sammy the Bull Gravano. I mean, this guy. I mean, I guess next to Boxer Enriquez, as high level as it gets as an informant. You're not gonna get these interviews unless you're very close and have a working relationship with law enforcement. Don't get it twisted. The average journalist cannot just reach out to law enforcement and say, hey, I want to interview Mundo Mendoza, Boxer Enriquez, Sammy the Bull, right? Or Michael Franzini, or Takashi 69. Remember? Wasn't Takashi 669 on No Jumper as well? I mean, these were all clear signs and indications that these individuals either are knowingly, I mean, either willingly or unwillingly, but are cooperating with somebody to use their platform. But they're not the only ones, guys. They're not the only ones. Who's heard 1090 Jake? Content's been used against people. And then I told you guys, Kev Mack's content is being used against people, specifically Little Doc Thorne. I believe the individual who was organizing the Florencia 13 and I believe what the East Coast Crips in the truth, Kev Mack's video was used against him. And it fucking, that video that they used to him was basically, man, they basically set him up with that video. But I told you guys, everyone thought I was a conspiracy theorist, thought I was joking, but I warned everybody that the Snitch Influencers, right, that is bigger. It's way bigger than just a few little prison influencers. Because again, pay attention. A lot of these prison influencers that are shady, even these fake actors, all make their rounds, right, on the No Jumper and Vlad TV circuit. Who remembers the racial beef that American Cholo tried to start with the black community, right? I believe over a song. Remember, it was on No Jumper. No Jumper, the Grand Wizard, the Skid Row Grand Wizard, right, of Los Angeles. Who remembers that it was actually the Grand Wizard, right, the Skid Row Grand Wizard, right, No Jumper, along with American Cholo, that were trying to start that racial beef between black and brown. Yep, No Jumper. And remember, American Cholo is promoted by law, local law enforcement in Los Angeles and politicians as a positive individual who's working as gang interventionist. like Big U, just like Big U. So you know what I mean? All this shit, guys. All this shit. I mean, has been brewing for years. I mean, all the rumors. Yep. Look at whack. Oh, see, that's another one. Who's heard the rumors? See, that's what I'm saying. If you really pay attention, even the black community, even before your boy the Outlaw started saying this shit about these guys, the black community had been saying it. African American community had been saying it about these guys. And whack, right? Whack 100, right? All social media junior deputy whack 100. Who's heard the rumors that the whack used to be in the LAPD? Um, has anyone ever seen the movie The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he goes undercover and he basically becomes a gangster? No one's ever seen The Departed. I mean, if you watch that movie, it's basically a good indicator of how a serious undercover agent really works. I mean, these guys will go deep cover, man. These guys will go deep cover and would create a podcast, and it's not out of the realm of possibility. Has anyone ever heard of Operation Trojan Shield? It was a special operation conducted by the FBI that started in 2018, but I believe it ended like in 2020 or 2021. It was an operation in which the FBI created, I don't want to say fake phones, but they created untraceable phones that you could use and they could not be traced. I don't know if they ran on a satellite or something, and then they, like, I guess, created tablets. And then what they did is they promoted these devices to the criminal underworld. But they promoted it to the criminal underworld by recruiting a bunch of high-ranking informants they had well placed in gangs all across the United States and encouraged these guys to go onto social media and promote these devices to other fellow criminals. When the FBI announced their Operation Trojan Shield, I believe it was 2020, 2021, they referred to these guys. Now, mind you, this is where I coined the term snitch influencers. They referred to as the individuals who helped promote these phones and devices as criminal influencers who took to social media and created accounts and used social media platforms to entrap people, to promote this device. Yeah, it was huge in Europe. Anyone notice that no one here in the United States got busted? Or when they list the names, I mean, what type of device? They were cell phones, and I believe they were tablets. I don't think they did computers, but they were cell phones and I believe tablets that could not be traced, and they were specifically designed. They were encrypted. There you go. They were encrypted devices, and they promoted. They used snitch influencers. And if you Google Operation Trojan Shield, and you look at the individuals who were actually promoting these phones, some of these guys were the leaders or influential members of some of the most high-ranking organizations in Europe. I believe the main individual was like the leader of a biker gang in Australia. Most of the rest were in Australia and Europe, but there was nobody here in the U.S. I think that got busted. Now, the reason I mention that, not only is it because that's where I coined the term snitch influencers, right? Because they weren't criminal influencers, they were snitch influencers. Social media snitch influencers. But coincidentally, if any of you guys can remember, 2018 is the very same year social media began to be infested with cancerous content by a bunch of shady individuals who either are suspected of being informants or are known documented informants. That's when all these individuals started popping up. Neil Tazad, Savage Studios, Dubs V, all these guys. The very same year this operation took place. And I mean, how many of you guys have heard rumors about other influencers having connections to law enforcement? Who's here? Sorry, tongue twister. Who here is familiar with Fresh and Fit with Myron, right? Myron Gaines. Anyone ever notice that the guy is very familiar with law and court cases, but he's supposedly, right, some sort of male influencer, some male chauvinist influencer, a hypocrite male chauvinist influencer. No one's ever heard Myron Gaines talk about the law. Anyone know that he's allegedly a former, right, like Hector Bravo, a former undercover ICE officer? He used to work for ICE, supposedly targeting cartels and sex trafficking and illegal migrant trafficking. He worked specifically building and managing informants and building cases. And all of a sudden, he decides to retire, right? To go on social media and become a popular male chauvinist hypocrite influencer. No one, no one's ever. I mean, I'm curious. I want to hear because honestly, there's so many of them. I'm pretty sure there's plenty of other influencers that you guys have heard rumors about that aren't really as popular as Whack 100 or Vlad PD or right the Grand Wizard, No Jumper. But I'm curious. Myron Gaines, that guy is a retired undercover ICE agent. Okay, a lot of these guys. Now, I don't have these people's names specifically, but if you guys go through like makeup influencers and stuff like that, and even just Google it, CIA or former law enforcement turned makeup influencers. A lot of these so-called feminist or bad bitch promoting makeup influencers, these older ladies, are all retired military intelligence or law enforcement. And I'm pretty sure there's some girls that were released out of prison, right? We also know, I don't really watch the girls that were released out of prison. So if you guys know of any, I mean, there's quite a few popular female prison influencers. I know that girl from Indicted, right? Negra, right? Has anyone seen Indicted? Right? The one that interviews dropouts and insinuates to the viewers that they're actives, like Bozo, right? Like Lefty Gunplay, and I believe, what is it? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I totally believe it. I believe that they influence the addiction to social media and encourage everybody. Pay attention to a lot of the early movies. Encouraged everybody that it's cool to film everything you do. They almost push the culture on us that it's cool to film everything we do, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. And that it's totally acceptable now to put it up on social media. Now, yeah, lefty butt play. Hey, hey, while we're on the subject of that, guys, how many do you guys have a suspicion that Lefty Gunplay is either an undercover homosexual or a bisexual? Because that boy is not straight, man. And I'm not talking about the drugs. Just something about his mannerism and the fact that he comes from an all-female household. I don't know. I mean, he just is weird. Really weird. If you take away his so-called his hood persona, he almost comes off like a gay boy gangster. To be totally honest, but I'm curious. Again, um, I told you guys this last time. I don't know if you guys remember. I told you that Alex Alonso, Street TV, and Kev Mack both worked creating the grid, which is used to create the gang zones in Los Angeles, which law enforcement uses to create gang injunctions. So these little barriers in the territory that the mapping system that the LAPD and the sheriffs and a lot of the gang units and cops in LA use, it's a system that was created by Kev Mack and Alex Alonso, or with a lot of information provided by them. Pay attention. These guys talk about how they map the area of gangs. No one ever heard Alex Alonso or Kev Mack talking about how they map their 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 hobby is mapping the territories of gangs, but they never. Did you see Wes Watson snitched on friend? Well, Wes Watson was at the biggest dropout country club of a prison, right? Mill Creek. Now remember, Wes Watson was also on No Jumper Street. He was also on Fresh and Fit. He's made the circuit on a lot of these other Snitch Influencer channels. Just pay attention. If you just follow Wes Watson and a lot of these popular guys, these guys kind of expose other individuals because it's all fucking whole circus of these clowns, bro. It's a whole circus. Remember, then you have the whole mob genre. You have Sammy the Bull Gravano, Michael Francini, and there's a bunch of other so-called Italian weenie fucking mafia snitch influencers doing the same thing, Powder, and all these fucking clowns do. Has anyone ever heard Jeff Konarski's Mob Talk Radio? That guy's always talking shit on the Italian mob snitch influencers. And he provides paperwork on how they're all a bunch of lying fucking shitbags. Bones Malone mentioned those maps on this Bastards. Yeah. Has anyone seen? Oh, so you saw Bastards of the Party, right? That's a dope ass. That's a dope ass movie. Has anyone else seen Bastards of the Party? In which they talk about that the origins of most LA street gangs come from the revolutionary activities in the 60s and the 70s. It's not so much that people follow these influencers, but who's familiar with the whole conspiracy of the gangster rap genre controlled by the private prison industry? I'm outside, guys, so I think you might hear a plane. Masters of the Party was a righteous documentary. Has anyone heard the rumors of that the gangster rap genre was created by the prison industry, private prison industry? Yeah, Raza del Sol, you know a lot of shit. Bastards of the Party, I believe it's an HBO documentary. Pretty dope. Bastards, like a bastard of the party. Basically, in trying to insinuate that the LA street gangs were the bastards offshoot after all the political activism was destroyed in Los Angeles. Yeah. Yep. Over 4 years ago, even longer, 5 years ago, I warned everybody about these guys. And remember what they say? That I was a fucking uh, a conspiracy, a cheerleader, right? That's what Mundo called me, a conspiracy cheerleader. Well, let's see if you remember Raza del Sol. But no one's familiar with the gangster rap genre and how it was created by the private prison industry in the early '90s. Well, if you Google it, there's a lot of information on it, and you see they use the media, they use right culture magazines that cater to Latinos and blacks, the urban community. They used MTV, they used BET, they used everything to create these phony, phony gangster rappers, right? Overnight, they created a bunch of phony gangster rappers like Bozo, like Lefty Gunplay, like Little Temps, right? And Cholo Juan, and all these other little social media studio gangsters like Swifty Blue, right? All of a sudden came out of nowhere, being promoted by everybody, right? There's they're doing the same thing with the social media influencers that was done with gangster rap. They're using the same outlets, media. If you look, a lot of major magazines like the New Yorker, Insider have ran stories on these snitch influencers, and they call them prison influencers. And at least Cholo Juan is, yeah, he is funny. He is funny, but he is a poser. He's a dropout. You guys know that I believe it was in 2000 and I think 2013 he was sentenced. And pay attention, he does a video where he says that Rene Box Enriquez testified against him. He was sentenced to 11 years in prison. He only served about 5 years in prison before he was released from a minimum security prison. Yeah, the New Yorker did a story on Rat Watson. And what did they refer to him as? prison influencers, right? These guys weren't referred to as anti-prison influencers or anti-gang influencers. They were referred to as prison influencers, whose stories of locks and socks and prison shanks were the reason why everyone was tuning into their channel. It didn't mention that these guys were pushing a positive message and that these guys were out to save the world. It focused in how these guys tell over exaggerated prison boogeyman fairy tales while social media panhandling off their viewers. I told everybody that I was just a conspiracy cheerleader. That was that was funny. And then I seen all the videos and all the comments of everyone talking about you right, junior deputy, social media junior deputy, No Jumper Street, and Lieutenant Vlad TV, right? How they're the feds. When I had been telling everybody for at least 5 years now that all these guys, not one, not just the not just the so-called SNYs, I said every single one of them, the active, well, I say they're fake actives, and all the other little channels that promote them, like No Jumper, Vlad TV, Cinemail, and Al Profits. Who's ever who thinks there's something shady about Al Profits? Anyone ever heard that shit? No one's heard the comments that Al Profit exploits the urban black community, just like No Jumper and Vlad PD. How many of you guys know that Al Profit has publicly endorsed stories written by lying SNY prisoners? He basically, and he's interviewed several prison snitch influencers. No one? No one's ever heard the rumors? Well, there's old paperwork, and well, before I say that, I want you guys to scroll. Al Prophet was involved with the conspiracy as well, wasn't? Yes, he was. Supposedly, I believe in the early '80s, him and his friend were involved in doing a drive-by shooting, in which they shot and killed a teenage boy, a 13 or 14-year-old boy, who happened to be the nephew of some politician, local politician. But long story short, Al Profits testified against them, receiving probation, while the other individuals received harsh sentences. Yeah, yep. So you guys have heard that, right? Now, if you go scroll through Al Profits, go through Al Profits, pay attention. He interviews high-level informants. He only interviews informants and current or retired law enforcement for his videos. Now, again, yeah, actives don't talk. Yeah, that's right. No sane individual is going to go on TV, right, and is going to talk about their criminal life. Just watch any videos from John Gotti or any of these mafiosos when they're confronted by the media. They don't sit there and fucking tell them, yeah, I'm part of the Gambino family with a fucking blue rag or something hanging out their pocket. No, they completely deny it. But anyways, if you look, like Detroit, yeah, but if you pay attention, if you can Google it, oh shit, maybe I can put it in the link. Yes, he does. That's how you know he's a snitch influencer. He also talks all the same shit the snitch influencers do. He fucking discredits and badmouths the Aryan Brotherhood indictment. And if you guys are familiar with Two Scoops, they'll tell you that's bullshit. And he also talks shit and encourages everyone to believe that George Jackson was somehow the leader of the BGF. Yeah, dude, I I wouldn't believe half the shit he says. Yeah, Free Two Scoops and Renegade, bro. I actually want to do a story on Ronnie Yondell, but I'm gonna ask Brant first if he can ask Ronnie for permission, or if Brant's okay with it. But I want to do a story on Ronnie Yondell and his current situation and how it compares to W.L. Knoll, who was killed in 1970 in Soledad Prison. You guys are probably wondering how the fuck, but I have a letter and I have certain information that I know related to W.L. Knoll, and it's very similar to the current situation that's happening to Ronnie. But I'm gonna ask him first. Anybody else ever been snitched out, like actually been testified against? Yeah, I'm telling you guys, Kev Mack, bro. Kev Mack. Let me see if I can pull it up. You know what? Kev Mack would say he didn't testify, but he should have fucking testified because that was pretty fucked up what he did. Oh man, what the fuck? Okay. Yeah, he doesn't he? He does. Pay attention. He glorifies the culture. These guys subconsciously glorify the culture. Bro, think about it. If no active has ever publicly come out and glorified the culture, so then who's promoting it to these youngsters? Who's glorifying it on TV, on music, on social media, right? None of these guys have direct contact with any of these so-called heavy hitters in prison. So, I mean, if you really think about it, I've posed this question before. Who is who's actually more influential? Some guy who's allegedly a prison gang leader who's locked up in solitary confinement, right? Who has no access to really communicate to the world. Or some snitch influencer like Boxer Enriquez, who's giving every outlet right now to spew prison boogeyman fairy tales, right? To talk shit on everyone else while avoiding the issue that he went to jail for sodomizing a young girl. Exactly. Racist men don't hunger strike. Um, that's true. That's true. But let me look it up because okay, I want to see you so you guys can Google it too. It's little. Okay. Sorry guys, my fucking phone. Little dog. Let's see if it pops up right here. It should pop up. Um. Oh man. Paul Gary Wallace. Does anyone know who Little Doc Thorne is? Paul Gary Wallace. I'm curious. Hey Tim K. I'm trying to see right here. Yeah, Daily Mail. Okay, so I'm reading from the Daily Mail, and this was posted August of 2022. Boss of bosses, Crip leader, 56-year-old who started hanging out with LA gangs at age 6, is sentenced to 35 years in prison for a 2014 murder of his rival. Okay, now this is regarding Paul Little Doc Wallace. Now, this individual, an individual who participated in the end of hostilities, the hunger strikes, and this individual actually came out to the streets on parole with the same ideology and principles of the end to hostilities and agreements. And he organized two of the biggest rival gangs in Los Angeles, Florencia 13, and I believe the East Coast Crips or West Coast Crips. Don't don't quote me, but one of those big major Crip sets. And from what I heard, he was also organizing several Crips and Bloods and other Latino and black gangs to come together to the table. He would be considered probably, and they publicly won't say it, the most successful gang interventionist in Los Angeles in the past 10 years. But yet they're going to tell us American Cholo is better, Skip Townsend and Big U are better interventionists. But no, the only reason they promote those three fucking Uncle Toms is because they don't want you learning about Paul Gary Wallace. Paul Gary Wallace would be the equivalent to Geronimo Pratt, who in the late 60s was the most successful individual in Los Angeles that was organizing and politicizing all the local African American gangs in South Central until he was framed and set up and sentenced to 27 years as an innocent man, right? Which most of it was in solitary confinement. Paul Gary Wallace was sentenced to 35 years. He's basically going to die in federal prison, and there's already been an attempt on his life while he was in prison. American Bozo. Yeah, I say American House Cholo, but whatever. American Bozo, like his buddy, right? But anyways, Paul Gary Wallace, one of the major pieces in his case that was used to drive the nail in his coffin in his case was an interview that he did with Kev Mack, right? From Kev Mack videos. Has anyone ever heard Kev Mack? Well, if you guys watch him, or has anyone ever heard that it was a Kev Mack video that was used in a federal indictment, in a federal case against Paul Gary Wallace, Little Doc Thorne, PNG Media News? You're usually up to date with shit like that. But yeah, he was basically sentenced to life, and one of the major pieces was a YouTube video that he did on Kev Mack's video. And it's also been rumored that 2 to 3 other videos have been used from Kev Mack's videos to violate individuals' parole or to violate their gang injunction, something like that. Basically, 3 other individuals, something they said on that video put them back in prison or got them in trouble. But Paul Gary Wallace basically is dying in prison, and Kev Mack did nothing to help him. Kev Mack put on a good front in the Rouge, telling him that he wanted to interview him about his intervention work, about his work that he was doing organizing Latino and black gangs in Los Angeles. But during the interview, he seemed to ask more questions about gang activity. I mean, kind of directing the interview to go more towards glorifying gangs. And in the final editing of the video, Kev Mack basically edited everything out that Paul Gary Wallace wanted to talk about, which was the peace treaty, how he was organizing the street gangs. Instead, it just kind of glorified his old gang days and gang activities, stuff that he did in the past. And that is what they used to drive the nail in the coffin of Paul Gary Wallace in this federal case in 2022. Not once did Kev Mack ever offer to testify for the defense. Not once did Kev Mack use his influence or platform to organize a committee to help free Little Doc or to get him legal service or just to bring awareness to his case. Because he didn't want no one to know that his video was being used to indict him. Not once did he offer the raw, uncut video to, to Little Doc's lawyers, which they could show that the overwhelming majority of the video was actually a positive interview talking about his intervention work with the Latino and black street gangs of Los Angeles. House Porcho, bipolar chipmunk, yeah. Social media Uncle Tom. But again, guys, have any of you guys heard? Oh, we've only been on here a half hour. Has anyone heard of any other guys whose content has been used against individuals? Again, no one knows that individual P-N-O, right? The I want to say the East Coast Malibu's Most Wanted. Apparently, he did some sort of Facebook video where he went to a gun range and rented a gun, powder. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Why are we skipping that fucking idiot, huh? That fucking Nazi tweaker, Powder. You guys know Powder, right? And the shit he was saying on stories written by a current prisoner was used in the federal indictment against the alleged members of the Aryan Brotherhood. Did Tony ever mention that? That Powder, multiple times. Savage Studios too, guys. Totally forgot. Savage Studios killer. Several YouTube content was brought up during. Oh, hold on, give me 1 second. That's my mother-in-law. Savage Studios. During his murder trial, several several times they mentioned Savage Studios content and several other prison influencers content. Yup. See guys? See guys? And I told you guys 5 years ago that this was gonna happen, right? That these guys not to give these guys petty information. That's why these guys offer their emails. That's why these guys offer their mentoring service because they know obviously calling them is somebody who's at a weak point in their life and very vulnerable and susceptible to providing information, right? Without even knowing. This is the new age social media ghetto informant program. This is exactly what they're doing. These guys not only are the content using to bury people, but the very same information that people give them, right, on DMs or private phone calls where they're receiving their private mentorship, which they have to pay for, right? All the podcasts promoting that fool Cody Yep, yep, yep. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, Cody Monster too. Well, how many of you guys think that ah shit, Badass Snoop, Badass Snoop is being promoted as the SNY Joe Morgan? Yeah, I noticed that too about Cody Monster, right? They're all promoting him. I mean, he even appeared on a fucking documented informant channel, right? Saying that he doesn't fuck with rats. And yet he appeared on a documented informant channel. Yep, yep. You see? They promote these guys, bro. Remember? Remember, oh man, what, the guy from the Bulldogs, that J Cat. Oh, the one that was on Lucked Up Raw. Remember? He's promoted too. Do I remember the terrorist attack in San Bernardino? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Yep, I remember that. There was definitely something shady about that shit. Definitely something shady about that one shit. A lot of those so-called terrorist attacks are extremely shady. No one's ever heard of. I mentioned it before. Aaron Aronson, a journalist with the Intercept. Phantom. There you go. That's another guy that gets promoted. But mark my word, they're promoting Badass Snoop to be the SNY Joe Morgan, right? The legend of the legend of SNY. I would doubt it, bro. I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt it. Just let's see. I live in Redlands, where the shooters. Oh yeah. Um, that's and the law enforcement. But you live kind of right by. Isn't that where they killed them in Redlands or something like that? Or they were on their way back to Redlands? I know it was at some sort of handicap academy or some kind of working center for handicapped people. I know somebody who goes there. You went to Redlands High School? Man, so you guys are all from the IE, right? Yeah? But also, I agree with you. East Highland, huh? Yeah. Yes, they do want to return everybody back to solitary confinement. They're using all these shenanigans, which they don't clarify, that are actually taking place predominantly on SNY, but they're not clarifying that, right? And they're going to use all this incident, promote it in the media, that everyone in prison is bad, and that, right? That apparently the SNY guys are following the orders of the prison gang leaders too, right? Um, Off subject, and I know it's off subject, but has anyone seen the new Charles Manson documentary on Netflix called Chaos? I highly recommend everyone go and check it out. I believe it came out maybe like a week ago, and it theorizes the fact that they believe that Charles Manson and his group was actually part of some sort of CIA mind control program called Chaos, Chaos, on Netflix. No, guys, check it out. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But shit, it's getting kind of late, guys. I just wanted to come on this live, and I wanted to basically tell you guys I told you so, right? I told you from the beginning, 5 years ago, about individuals like No Jumper and Vlad PD. Hector Bravo went to California Insider saying it all. Yeah, yeah. Do you guys notice that when Hector Bravo goes on when he's on his platform, he tries to be kind of fair and non-biased and tries to act like he's a whistleblower, right? But then when he goes, but yet when he interviews on other channels, which happen to be extreme right-wing conservative channels, he completely flip-flops and he starts telling prison boogeyman fairy tales. He's a hypocrite. He's a complete hypocrite. He's probably one of the biggest hypocrites on social media. But yeah, I've seen his videos. I've seen his videos, and I think he's a two-face. You guys heard me say it. He's not a whistleblower. A whistleblower would not have access to interview a registered rapist like Renee Boxer Enriquez. That's not going to happen. Okay? You can forget that. If this guy is a former CDCR employee who's out to expose them, ain't no fucking way they're going to let him get anywhere near somebody like Renee Boxer Enriquez. Megan's Law Mafioso. Yeah, he does. He's a public information officer. He's a well-trained, overpaid, habitual liar. That's what public information officers do. Their job is to fucking lie to the public. I mean, everyone's a little unbiased. I can see they say I'm fair and unbiased, but everyone's a little biased. But that guy is a two-face. Tries to say, "Oh, I'm out here, right, for truth and transparency," but he's not. He's out here to expose a little bit, so he can tell you a bigger lie. So he's exposing something small, but he's overshadowing it with a bigger lie. Yeah, he does. That and that's exactly the most effective way to indoctrinate somebody or to brainwash somebody to use the truth. There's an old CIA documentary on how Operation Condor, I believe it is, and when they invaded El Salvador, right? And they talk about the psychological warfare that they used to invade the country. And they basically said the most effective technique was to lie to them. They created cultural, popular radio stations. They infiltrated and recruited popular, iconic figures from the country, but mostly they just lied. They blended a little bit of truth with a lot of lies in order to manipulate everybody. And they claim that is the most effective way to lie to somebody, to use the truth. Mix mix some of the truth with the lie that you want to be told. And that's exactly what that guy does. But I guarantee you, if I ever got him in a public setting where he couldn't run or duck or dodge or avoid the question, he wouldn't be acting like that. He'd be like a politician fucking running from a journalist confronted him. Yeah, it's basically, I mean, no one really believes that shit is true, bro, but that shit is true. And a mild version of mind control is repetitive, right? To be told something repetitively. And what do these snitch influencers do? They all cohesively pump out the same content every day and pump everything out, right? They'll tell you that someone like Marvelous is a creep, right? But completely avoid the fact that they're all promoting a registered sex offender, Renee Boxer Enriquez. Yeah, it's better than the pills and the microchips, bro. It's true. It's true. People that have no idea that they, as a matter of fact, the individual who created the TV, when he created the television, or hold on, give me a second. Yeah, no, no, maybe let me get reception. Sorry, guys, my mother-in-law asking if my son is called to check in from the trip. Weapons, grades, social media. Yeah. Oh, you're right. I totally agree. I think the way YouTube and social media uses the algorithm to promote this shit. And have any of you guys heard the conspiracies regarding porn sites, specifically Pornhub, and how the algorithm works? They go that specifically. I'm going to talk about Pornhub. That if you go on Pornhub and let's say you're just searching for, we'll say whatever subject you're searching for, hot girl or hot guy, whatever it is you're going to be searching, and then you get into your search. When you look at the algorithm or the suggested feeds, slowly but surely, it's gonna start throwing you videos of underage girl, or you mean something that's going to be more aggressive than what you're searching for, something more dark, right? More sinful than what you're looking for. And what it's doing is hoping and encouraging you to go down a darker and darker path. And the more you go through the algorithm, the more it's going to throw more fucking crazy shit, guys. More crazy shit. And from what I've learned, they say that a large portion of the stuff that's actually on social media, it's put up there illegally, and it would be considered uh, uh, child trafficking or sex trafficking or sex abuse. But a lot of the content there, they go, you know what I mean? They say a lot of the girls there are underage girls, and they put those videos there. That way, say down the road, if you ever get in trouble with law enforcement or somehow they want to railroad you, they're going to pull up your search engine from Pornhub, and they're going to be like, oh, look, he was looking at videos of underage girls. When the whole entire time, you have no clue that you're assuming, okay, that on this site, I'm on this video, I didn't search for underage girls, I'm not looking for this shit. You know, I'm assuming, okay, yeah, she kind of looks young, but you're just, okay, I'm insinuating she was, screened or vetted and they know she was. No. They say a lot of that shit is obtained illegally and it's flagged but has not been removed. But they'll use these videos to kind of use the algorithm to push you into a darker area of fucking porn sites. And I think YouTube does too. I think social media does too. You can probably start searching something like righteous or something educational or something entertaining. And I truly believe that the algorithm slowly starts suggesting and then it slowly gets more aggressive and it'll start giving you crazy fucking shit. Shit that you did not start off the search. You know what I mean? It's an addiction, bro. Social media is going to be the downfall of society. Downfall of society. But yeah, guys, I mean, I want to get off. I just want to do an hour long one. But is there any snitch influencers that you guys have heard that have rumors of being tipped up with law enforcement? We talked about Powder, right? His content being used in the federal indictment. How Savage Studios content. Told you Kev Max. Um, 1090 Jake. We know Vlad TV has. And let's see what other ones. I mean, there's so many of these guys. Like I speaking since we were talking about the Cody or yeah right Cody Monster Cody or whatever, that fucking J Cat guy. I think Flacco's video or his interviews. Yeah, I think Flacco's because he did that one after he unalived that guy. I truly believe that part of that interview is going to be used to indict him. I'm trying to think of what other ones, but I mean, I just wanted to come on here and rub it in your guys' face and tell you guys, I told you so. I told you guys so 5 years ago that the entire, right, prison slash gang, hip hop, urban culture influencers are all either snitch influencers or tipped up with law enforcement. And all you have to do is just go now and see what Vlad TV or right, Vlad PD, sorry, right, Vlad PD and Junior Deputy Explorer, No Jumper are going through right now, being exposed as social media junior explorers, right? I told you guys, the day would come. I knew. I always stay one step ahead of the game, and I knew from day one what these guys were up to. A lot of people laughed, shamed me, mocked me, and here now you're starting to see, wow, this fucker said 5 years ago that all these guys were tipped up with law enforcement and that the content that they were doing was going to turn around to destroy people. I told you, these guys are the new social media age American Me. They're going to have the same effect on society, such as American Me and Blood In and Blood Out had on the Latino culture during the early 90s. A negative effect. They're not pushing positivity. Again, let me remind you, these guys are either prison or gang influencers, not anti-prison or anti-gang influencers, but prison and gang influencers. And that is the subconscious message that's being driven into everybody subconsciously that this guy is not an anti-prison or gang influencer, but is a prison and gang influencer. You guys, how many of you guys agree that these guys are having the same effect on society, such as movies like American Me, Blood In, Blood Out, and Colors did in the late 80s and early 90s on society? It's sad though because I think it's probably going to be worse. How many of you guys know that the Bloods and Crips didn't exist anywhere other than in the Los Angeles and predominantly California area, and mysteriously after the debut of Colors, sets of Crips and Bloods started popping up in the Midwest, the East Coast, and all sorts of fucking hillbilly fucking states. Some states that don't even have blacks in it, and they have sets of Bloods and Crips. Okay, but yeah, I got 3 minutes before 5. Anyone have any questions? Anyone? Going once, going twice. Hold. Nobody? Okay, guys. Well, with that said, I just want to come on here and talk about the current drama. And like I said, I told you so. So, oh, and for those of you who saw my last live where I fucked up and I wasn't able to provide my information, I'm trying to post the information and documentation on my community post, but I can't size the images that I have. So I'm working on doing a short little 5-6 minute little video and where I walk you through all the documentation, guys. So just keep an eye out. It'll drop probably Monday, and it's gonna have all the documentation that I told you that basically proves that Mundo Mendoza and Megan's Law Mafioso, Renee Registered Rapist, are fucking frauds over there on the snitch spot. So with that said, YouTube Renegades, always stay 100%, or sorry, 113 and 114% fully activated and strapped with the critical thinking beanies on at all time, YouTube Renegades. Because there indeed is a war out for your minds. And these snitch influencers, which I warned you about years ago, are out to manipulate you with their lies and opinions that they post on their cancerous content. So with that said, a clenched fist salute y venceremos.